Hello and welcome to Hops and Brews. This week,
We're talking about IPAs again.
For an open window on a crappy world. Max and Chris from Ups and Brews. Ups and Brews. Welcome to Ups and Brews.
Alright, so this week we're talking about IPAs, which is a style we've never talked about on this show, obviously, because who would, right? It's just one of the most popular styles there is.
So it's a brand new style, Max. No, not really, but the reason why we want to talk about IPAs today is because as you're watching this, tomorrow it's National IPA Day. Or it could be basically Worldwide IPA Appreciation Day. I don't know. Like they could put a worldwide connotation on it because it's that popular. But
Well, you see, it's that popular here, especially in America.
Yeah.
But if you go to Europe, IPAs are not that big of a deal. Most places don't really. It's still a mythical kind of beer. It's like
Yeah.
over here with I don't know. I feel like here we very much emulate every single style there is. There's not a lot of countries or continents where you can really have a bit of everywhere.
yeah.
Aside from America, because we did start a revolution on homebrewing, where you would find a random recipe and start brewing, and that's one of the reasons why craft beer became so popular, is because of the homebrewers who wanted something different than a normal lager. As if you look at Germany in general, lagers are pretty much the only thing they drink. They've got some other styles here and there, but lagers are the main beer. You look at in Britain where it's more stout, some IPAs, but again more malty styles of IPAs. At least that's what I remember from when I was there.
Yeah.
Someone from there could probably correct us and tell us we're idiots. That happens too.
Hey, we never know, right? But I'm gonna do a very quick recap on the historical part of IPAs because you probably have already heard the story 1,000 times from now that you're watching the video. If you want a nice little video that's very quick and that represents very well the history of IPAs, go watch the one made by Beer by the Numbers. It's just well made and always on point for the historical dates and all that. But back in the 19th century, the British Army was traveling to India. Army needed to drink beer. Beer wasn't able to make it that far, and they weren't able to brew beer in India because of the high temperatures. We already talked about it when we did, I think, steam beers or California Common. We talked a little bit about that. They kind of like found a different way to refrigerate their beers or to ferment them at higher temperatures. It wasn't the case back in the 19th century. So what happened is that most of the beers that showed up in India for the army wasn't good. It was infected, they had to dump it, soldiers were mad, they had to find a solution. Of course, using more hops, Max, we already talked about it a little bit, how it kills off bad bacteria. We spoke about lacto in beer and all that. That's what they did. They just added more hops to their beer so that they can preserve it on a longer period of time to make it to India. But we discussed a little bit before doing this video, and every single time we read facts about IPAs, it always swirls around a marketing scheme. So I think that's why I want to talk about it today, because what's an IPA and is it just really a marketing thing?
I think it is 100%. I mean, if you look at all the different kinds of IPAs that's out there right now, IPA is kind of a catch-all term where you make a beer, it's a little hoppy, boom, IPA. Now, hoppy is a very non-distinct term. It could mean hoppy flavor-wise or hoppy bitter. Now, I've worked enough behind the bar to tell you that when people say hoppy, they mean bitter, but it's still something that should be changed, as hoppy does not mean bitter in this case, or in any case, really. There's a lot of ways to describe a beer, and using one very generic term that so happens to be one ingredient in beer kind of falls short in describing what the beer actually is. It's like saying a beer's watery.
Or moist.
Watery. It tastes like water, moist. Yeah, moist is even better. It's a moist beer. Yeah, of course, it's going to be moist. There's water in it. And same thing with malty. Malty could mean that it's very roasty. Could mean that it's very, I don't know, it could mean that it's very sweet. There's a lot of different reasons why someone would say a beer is malty or beer is hoppy. So there definitely is an education that has to be done with beer drinkers so they know what flavor is what, to better describe what they like. I guess it's the job of whoever's behind the bar, whoever is kind of saying, yeah, you might like this, you might like that. If your buddy's a beer guy and you're trying to describe what you like, it's his job to figure out, all right, if you like this kind of flavor, you're going to like this beer. But yeah, it definitely is a marketing thing. It's easier to sell beer if you say IPA, yet some people walk in, they want an American-style IPA, which is bitter, but also a little sweet, but sweet more in caramel kind of malt way, versus a New England style, which is mostly not bitter. It's mostly fruity and very creamy and not clear at all. You know, there's two different beers completely, yet both are called IPAs.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's difficult, man.
You can easily see it from the part where IPAs kind of like died off in UK. You weren't able to find them. They kind of like ended off on a special occasion beer. That's how they market it. And then it quickly just ran into bottom sink of beers in general. But Max told you guys about homebrewers reviving old styles. This is basically what happened back in the US in 1960s, 1970s, when homebrewers started brewing old English styles, but again, reinventing those IPAs. And what happened is that we found out that here in America, we actually have fantastic soil to grow our own hops that develop their own aromatics. And this is what made IPA booming again back in the industry, having those Cascade, Simcoe grown, and now Citra Mosaic and all that made it so important in the market and also on the development of the style of IPAs. Because 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when I first started drinking craft beer or just beers in general, IPAs were just in a race of what's the highest IBU we can get, what's the most bitter we can get, like the 90 IBU ones, the 120 IBU ones, and now we're moved on to what's the fruity, juiciest one that we can do without fruits. So
it's actually really hard to do a very fruity IPA with hops, because I mean, hops shouldn't be that big of an ingredient, and it is very expensive. So you have a lot of breweries ordering a ludicrous amount of hops, using that ludicrous amount of hops, but then charging premium for their product. And the byproduct of that as well is that there's shortages. Every year there's a shortage of one type of hop or another, mostly because of that. You don't have access to it because someone else has already taken every stock they had because they want to create the juiciest IPA.
Yeah.
I mean, bringing back a sense of balance in beer might not be a bad idea. It's funny, we started the video and we were supposed to talk up-talk IPAs, and right now I'm doing the complete opposite. Or I'm down talking them. Like, don't get me wrong, I love IPAs, but I do think that a lot is overdone, and there's also a lack of understanding how to properly brew them in the industry. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of great brewers who know exactly what they're doing, but there's a lot of brewers who just think that throwing hops at a problem is going to fix it, when in reality there's a lot of other factors. I mean, if you look at isomerization of alpha acids in the boil, cool, you don't want a lot of bitterness, you add it later on, you get more flavor, that's one way of doing it. Dry hopping, get more aromatics, but you can pull a lot more from some hops by, using concentrates or using other things like that. There's also a term I wanted to use right now when it comes to fermenting and dry hopping, but I forget it. I just learned it a few minutes ago. That's how my memory works. I'm going to remember it in a second. Chris, if you want to ramble on for a little bit, I'm going to try to remember what I was
on the part you said about shortage. It's funny because I just had the opportunity to talk with one of Yakima's Yakima chief rep, and he told me that currently, as we're speaking, for the crop of 2020, so not even this one, the next one, 20 brands of his up portfolio is sold out. Like, all the contracts are gone. So if you're planning on signing to get those nice juicy hops for your future IPA, you have to sign for 2021, brew in 2022. Like, it's literally, you need to buy it before it even grows. It's crazy how it's just booming.
It's messed up, and then you're trying to create one brand with one hop, but if you're going to create a pale ale where your main hop is Citra, you're not going to make it, because in a year you're going to have to find another hop to replace it. And if people have a taste for that specific beer, they're going to want to keep seeing that, even though you can't even get the ingredients anymore. Galaxy. A few weeks ago, there was a short of a Galaxy. No one had Galaxy. There was no Galaxy to be found. So if your portfolio, if your main beer has Galaxy in it, you got to find a substitute. And with those hops that are now more aromatic hops, you can't just find any substitute.
Nope.
Back in the day where bitterness was the key, you can substitute bitterness. Now, there is a difference between some hops, some bittering hops versus other bittering hops. There's some bittering hops that are a little more harsh, some that are a little more smooth. So there is some differences, but it's a lot easier to control and to change.
Did you find your
That's
word,
pretty much
Max?
what I got. Yeah, no, I didn't.
You lost it?
We're just gonna stop it there. Maybe I'll think about it later. I don't know, man.
Damn.
Memory's weird.
Darn it. Darn it.
And you guys commenting down there about what was it? It's not gonna help. I don't know. It was something. We'll figure it out later. It's a mystery. I don't know. I know what to tell you. If you like the video, though, please leave a like, subscribe, share, and let us know in the comments below what you would like to see on the next Craft Beer 101. Even though this wasn't a 101, it was mostly a rant on IPAs and how they're good, but not good, but good. I don't know. Any closing words, Chris?
Hopefully this is clickbait enough so we can get more views.
Wow, that is brutally honest. It's good that no one makes it to this part of the video.
I know.
It's always cut beforehand.
I know.
Wow. Okay, anyways, see you guys in the next one.